The old slide was too weak. So here's the new one. These legs are slanted in, which keeps it from pushing this way. And there's two lag bolts sticking up through the wood right in the middle of these channels that stop on these bolts that keep it from pulling out that way. The permanent slides on the outside are about 3/16 of an inch higher than these. So there's no weight on this when you pull it out. There's some wood shims that you can see over there. Hopefully I'll get up closer to them. The other thing was I sliced, we'll get a close-up on this also, these rails are tapered so that the wheels slide off and on them fairly easy. Please excuse the mess up there. So now the whole thing's out. This frame is a lot more sturdy than the old one. These bolts are carriage bolts that stick down through the bottom and ride between the permanent rails that are in there and the movable rails in here. These carriage bolts were about 6 inches long and they would bend all the time. So I put, I used a pipe nipple here and a conduit fitting elsewhere to make them stiffer, and I bolted, put a washer here and bolted this up. So this is fairly sturdy. There's two sets of wheels now. There's 4 casters on each side that run on the temporary rail, and there's 4 casters on each side that run on the permanent rail. Here's a close-up of the conduit fitting, which makes this carriage bolt more secure. Here's a detail of the shims that are holding up the outside rail. And you can also see the cut right there. And what that does is that allows the top part to lower as the weight gets put on it. And therefore these casters will ride up on there quite quickly. The other thing that needs to happen is that somehow those 2 sides need to be brought in with a C-clamp or something temporarily, because these pins that are hanging down, these carriage bolts, tend to catch on that. They tend to catch on the inside edge of the outer permanent strut and the outside edge of the movable strut. Here's the movable strut. 4x4 angle iron. You can buy this. This is shallow unistrut on the outside to stiffen this up to keep this from twisting. And down at the very inside of the whole thing is another thin unistrut with a 4x4 angle. These angles keep this whole thing from flexing and is needed with that much weight on there, it turns out. Here's the hinged part with another 4x4 angle. Here's your leg going down. And at the bottom of these legs is another thin unistrut going this way with 4x4 angles. All this was needed to keep the thing from shifting around. This whole thing has a tendency to travel 3, 4, 5, 6 inches. The right way to do it is to put some stops up front and then probably a piece of rubber on here so that when you close these doors, this thing doesn't shift back and forth on you when you hit the brakes or accelerate. This bolt sticking up just keeps the tray from riding off the end when the bottom frame is pulled out.